Hey everybody, thanks for watching Frozen Curds. We got Corey Behnke from Cheesehead TV gracing us with his presence. So everyone say, hey. Um, Today we are going to hit on the Packers possibly being the most disappointing team in football since the last Super Bowl. Some special teams issues, some short yardage issues. We're going to hit playoff push. We'll touch on the Ravens game a little bit. But first off, I'm going to start with that. Are the Packers the most disappointing team since their last Super Bowl?
No. No, why? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they've got themselves in some of the biggest positions, and and I don't want to sound like a spoiled fan because I'm not. I try to calm all these people all the time. You know, you can't be the fans that we've won 10 in a row, but then you lose one and the sky is falling. You know, I'm not that fan, but to be in the positions that they have been in with one seeds, with the NFC Championship games, and some funky decisions, some balls not going your way. Are they cursed? Did Rodgers sell his soul to the devil to win one?
I mean, I don't think so. Until we lose four Super Bowls in a row, like the Bills, I think we're going to be okay. I think I always, when I get down, I always try to compare us to other teams, which of course there's no comparison, but I always try to look at the NFL and go, hey, what are other teams? Even like, I think last week they were like, we're the most injured team, but I don't think that's true, actually. And so it's things like that where it's like, sometimes it feels like we're one of 32 and we're not, and also I do think it's interesting because the NFL is it's a very competitive league, more so than almost any other sports league, I think. And it's we wanted parity, and this is what we got.
No, true. And like you said, a lot of fans claim how injured we are, but I think we're just stuck in our bubble. You know, we only see, Parsons out, Wyatt out, Jenkins out, Evans out, blah, 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 blah. But there's tons of teams dealing with that. The Lions did it last year and still made the playoffs. You know, there's tons of examples of it. And like you said, we could have it way worse. There's 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl. 4 have never even made a Super Bowl. And, we could be perpetually bad, like the Dolphins or the Browns or any one of them teams, which maybe makes it that much more difficult to be as spoiled as we are.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's, look, when you see stats like Saturday night, it said 5 of 47 onside kicks have been
8% or something crazy like that. Yeah.
And then you watch Romeo Dobbs like not take 3 steps back and drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that gives you. I mean, I definitely was shocked. I mean, there's no doubt on Monday, 2 days after this game, I'm annoyed. I said it on Twitter today, but I'll get out of it and I'll get back to. It'll be fine. I mean, like, I think that. I think the Packers are a very interesting team, especially with the transition to Love. And I think they've done all the right things, and there have no in any other NFL team would have no business being where they are. And because they are the Green Bay Packers, they're in this position. So it always begs the question, like, would you rather be here or would you rather suck?
See, that's always my point. Is all these people? I would trade a championship for 5 years of being in the cellar. No, you wouldn't.
No, and that's not how it works either. Like, the Bears haven't had a championship since 1985.
Right.
Even this year, I would rather be us than the Bears. Even
100%.
After that loss, I would still, like, looking at this season, I'd way rather be us than the Bears.
I agree entirely. When your entire, I shouldn't say game plan, but I'm going to say it. When your entire game plan is for Caleb to run around like a crazy person the last 2 minutes and miraculously win a game, it's not a good game plan. You can't rely on that. The Giants did it. It was a couple years ago. The Vikings did it last year. All those one-score wins. You can't do that. You can't do it. But also leading into that, I feel like the Packers dominate first halves, but never pull away. With saying that too, they have had a couple 8-point, 9-point leads in the fourth quarter, and everybody will scream, "You're too conservative. You're too conservative." But then in the Broncos game, they throw it deep to Watson. "You're too aggressive. You're too aggressive." Where's the middle ground?
I mean,
You know,
I think you have to be. I think the Lions have shown most coaches what you have to be. You have to be aggressive in today's NFL. You have to play for fourth down. You just have to be aggressive because everybody else is being aggressive. It's one of those things where you really don't have a choice. So, again, like you bring up the Denver game, it's a smart read. You got man. You have two offensive linemen get beat, and Love can't throw the ball, but it's the right call. Like I even said it, I'm like, I hope we don't. That shouldn't change, especially in today's NFL. You know, going back to that Saturday game, I keep watching Jordan Morgan get his ass handed to him.
bad. Yeah.
Oh my god!
I had to shut the all 22 off so many times. Yeah.
I've been watching that on repeat, and I'm just like, and what do you want to do? Like going into the season, probably our biggest question mark, mine was, when will this line solidify? And you are watching, honestly, like injuries aside, everything else aside, you are watching the Green Bay Packers of 2025 not being able to solidify a line in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, we are losing closer games because of it.
And I hate to keep using injury excuse, but so much of it's injury related. Early in the season, would they have 7 consecutive games of a different offensive line or something along those lines? It's hard to gel and come together when that happens.
Yeah, and also going into the season not really having the center we thought, right? And then Sean Ryan actually has, besides the I don't know whose fault it was on the Myth snap, but besides that, Sean Ryan has actually played way better than anyone thought, including myself, the last 4 games.
I totally agree. And as far as that Myth, I've tried to watch it, and it just looks like 2 guys that don't do it every down.
Yeah.
Which
is unfortunate, right?
Right,
it
is what it is.
It's like Josh Jacobs. When does Josh Jacobs fumble the ball, right?
That's, it's not something I brought up to begin with, but brings up a really good point. At some point, if they're going to continue to let everybody get stood up and then push for another 5 yards, guys are going to start getting hurt. Bad things are going to start happening in those piles. Whatever happened to forward progress being stopped, and that's it.
Well, I don't know that this is the truth, but I do think it has something to do with if the tush push is a thing.
Right.
There is this move towards that is real football, right? Real football is a scrum. If you go back to the origins of rugby, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. It does feel like that's been a concerted effort from the NFL to let scrums happen more. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, no idea.
Right. I guess I'm there with you. When it happens to the Packers, hell yeah, go Pack. But then it happens the other way, and that's bullshit. Yeah, we can't be having that. But speaking of bullshit, the things that it took, the miracles, I'm calling it, for the Bears to win that last game. Broken coverage at the end of regulation. My guess is it's Nixon, and I don't want to pile on him because he's one of my favorites.
But I don't think that it's Nixon because what's interesting is
they both jumped the short route.
They both jumped the short route, but one of them trips, and it's not Nixon.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting. It's like, is the trip should he take the short? I mean, those kind of things, it's really hard. Cornerback and safety play is really hard because the coaches will never tell you who is responsible.
And they have so many anybody. They have so many reads on a given play, Plus, I mean, it was all out pressure. They had 4 guys. So my guess is, to me, my guess is the outermost defender has the outermost section of the field.
And you're probably right, but at the same time, it's like, look, in the last time we played the Bears, wasn't Nixon's responsibility, and he got the interception.
Very true. Yeah, no, very true.
I'm not here. I'm not a big fan of I don't think there's anybody on this team that deserves our hate. I think Nixon gets a lot of hate, and I don't know why. And I don't think he's as great as anybody says, and I don't think he's as trash as everybody says. I think cornerback's a very hard, I think it's the hardest position to play in football.
Besides quarterback, I agree. Yeah, you're on an island every play, and when you screw up, the entire world sees it. You are by yourself, and that just is what it is.
Well, and when people say screw up, it's like literally the thing that you could screw up on is less than half a second.
True. Right.
Right. It's like
even all varsity team me when I played, even if you turn the wrong way, if you open your hips the wrong way,
Yep.
that's it. That's all it takes,
Done.
especially in a league like this. I saw on social media everybody killing him about that last pass. He could not have been more blanketed. He was there. He interfered with him, honestly. He was there early, and he just made a great catch. You know,
Yeah, and
sometimes
the
that's just the way
NFL
it
is
works
set
out.
up for people to catch. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people understand the nuances of that. I mean, and I also think that I agree with some people who say, I don't know that you can watch a broadcast and talk about the safeties and the corners because of the way that the camera goes on the wide. You just can't. Like, you can say, "Oh, they're playing off." You can look back on stuff and go, "Oh, but on it's like it's 11 guys. Like, you need 11 guys. You need to know what exactly all 10 people are doing to say that one guy is out of
Right.
position."
And there's, your roll coverage too. You can have a safety deep and he rolls down, or you can have him starting here and he rolls back. We don't know. We don't know what the call. You're exactly right. You can have, you shade one side of the field, you're doubling a guy, you're bracketing a guy, you're doing this, you're doing that. And like you said, with on TV, you can't see any of that.
Well, and Hafley says, usually, I don't know if we were even in man in that play, right?
Right.
I'm assuming we were.
With no help deep, I would guess too. But,
Yeah, but
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And like Hafley said in his press conference 2 weeks ago, he's like, "Well, if we're in man and you're not taking your guy, something bad is going to happen." So again, like, is it the guy? I didn't see who tripped. I've been trying to see. I can't remember who the slot corner who trips on that play.
Remember. I don't know if it was Valentine or Bullard or who.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was Bullard. I think it was anyway. But my point there is, like, if here's the thing, like, if he trips and his guy is the long guy and then Keyshawn is delayed to the
Right.
back guy, again, like, if half a second is all it takes for you to miss in the NFL, by the time you realize that's your guy, unless the pass is underthrown, you're screwed.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
goes
ball's
back to
over
the
your head.
Bears game, right? Like, if Caleb Williams overthrows that a little bit in the Bears game, they win that game too, by the way.
Yeah, even if he throws it, a half a second earlier, Nixon's not getting there. Yeah, no, 100%. And these types of things is what I'm getting at with. And the Bears game is kind of just a culmination of all of it. Just the things it took for them to beat the Packers, for Packers fans to go nuts about. Like we just discussed, the broken coverage, the face mask on 3rd and 20, the fumbled snap, the onside kick. What it took to just get that game into overtime was nothing short of a miracle. And for people, in my opinion, to react the way they have, that this team's trash, LaFleur needs to be fired, which I think is the most ridiculous take out there, I think it's all trash.
I mean, I think that people get emotional. And I think, you get emotional. And I used to do this. It's funny, like, I used to do it a lot more before I was like watching games online and like really into Cheesehead TV and doing that kind of stuff. I mean, I still get emotional, but I don't know. I just think that if you don't, like, Matt LaFleur was 6-0 at Soldier Field on Saturday. So now he's 6-1. Name another Packers coach that is 6-1 at Soldier Field or ever was. I don't think there is one. Even Curly Lambeau was no 6-1 at Soldier Field. I don't think ever. So I'd have to look, but like that's pretty good. Like if you look at Matt LaFleur's stats, they're really good. They're really
Very
incredible. Look, are you going to make? I think every head coach has weaknesses, and I think that some teams are better exploiting those weaknesses than others. I also think, and this is not an excuse, but we have chosen to be the youngest team for 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And we have chosen that, right? So
Right.
it's not an excuse, but at the same time, it's like, okay, and here's the crazy thing. We've seen gelling from this team in different areas, right? The linebackers, for instance, linebacker play is probably some of the best it's been in a very long time for the Green Bay Packers.
That
took a decade.
Yeah, that unit, I would put up against most.
Yeah.
Between, Cooper's speed and the violence that Quay plays with, and the same thing with McDuffie. He doesn't miss a tackle, period. McDuffie does not miss. And, going back to experience, we look back early in the season and all of last season, the amount of offensive line pre-snap penalties that there were, the amount of holdings because guys were out of position. Now recently, significantly decreased.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problems that we have right now is we traded our best defensive tackle, if you will, even though he's a defensive lineman, to the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is definitely going to hurt us, and Wyatt being out is going to hurt us.
Big time.
We got some big bodies to kind of try to replace that, but between Rashawn Gary being absent and the last two games especially, I mean, he has the same amount of sacks he had last year, but you wouldn't really know it. Something has to give on the defensive line, and I do think the defensive line not getting pressures with Micah definitely exposes the secondary a little bit more, right?
Of course, and
But
I think that's why
that's
end of
every
game,
secondary, by the way.
right? No, for sure. You can't. No, there's not a secondary in the league that's going to cover for 5 seconds. You can't do it, and that's why those late game situations, Hafley was bringing everybody. He knew we can't let him stand back there. We got to bring everybody and force him into a mistake. Which, on that topic, if the secondary could just catch an interception every now and then,
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, beyond frustrating for me. That is one of the things that I'm getting frustrated with is they have opportunities for these turnovers to change games. I mean, the Denver game, they dropped 3 or 4.
Yeah.
McKinney dropped one against Caleb. The plays are there to be made to close these games out. They just have to be made. So that way, these late game situations might not happen anymore.
Yeah, and historically, what's funny about is the Green Bay Packers defense has not been that great, and what's put us over the top when we've gotten into the playoffs is typically turnovers. And
Super Bowl year.
So the fact that we're not getting turnovers is really upsetting, especially, I mean, it's the whole adage, though. Like, there's a reason that these guys are in the secondary and they're not wide receivers making $10 million.
If they could catch a B receiver.
Yeah. Right? And so there's some of that. I mean, especially McKinney. Like, McKinney catches just 2 interceptions in the last 2 games, and we win.
Mm-hmm.
No but you can say the same thing about Romeo Doubs. 1 catch of 1 place, and we're fine in one of the games at least. But, yeah, to me, I think the thing that frustrates most people is we don't have a killer close.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a killer our coach has a killer mentality. Our quarterback has a killer mentality. But it just feels like no one else on this team wants to kill. Wants to close on, just close those games. And it is disappointing. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing for the Green Bay Packers this season so far.
Right, and I think the 2 guys, one being Parsons, he was our closer. And then the other one, to me, being Jacobs, but he's been just fighting to get on the field. I mean, Saturday, after he fumbled, he didn't even touch the field again.
No.
The guy, he's fighting.
Well, he's been on the snap count.
Yeah, he physically can't do it right now. And this is a case where I think LaFleur is just going to have to say, no, you're sit down, get your knee right for a minute for when we absolutely need it in the playoffs. And I'm not saying he needs to sit the next 2 weeks, but I don't think, and again, I have no idea what's going on there. I'm not his doctor. I don't think he should see the field against the Baltimore Ravens.
It's interesting because, all these players, they get to a certain level with the injuries, and it is kind of up to them. And Jacobs is always, he talked about it in a press conference, he's always going to push to play. I don't know. It's hard, man. It's probably one of the hardest things I think coaches have to deal with is like, who do I have? How much do I have them? How do you get guys in on a snap count? Right? That's not really the kind of play calling you want to do.
Right.
Yeah, and running back. Yeah, I mean it's I mean, who's going to be the quarterback this weekend?
Yeah, are we going to practice hike Jaden Reed out there? It's no kidding because the concussion protocol is always finicky. Who knows there? Malik obviously was slammed or full body weight into the ground. That's his throwing shoulder. So maybe we go back to 1930s football and just run triple option with Malik. I don't know. Maybe we look like the Navy offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I would not want to be. I mean, Matt LaFleur is going to have a tough time this week. I think the Packers pull it out. I think we win out for the next 2 weeks, and then it kind of is where it is, right? I have to believe that. I'm the most bummed that we don't probably have a home playoff game. I think it still is a possibility, but it's not It's not a probability.
Right, and that's what I was going to say too. Is it's I think it's semi-realistic that, and by semi-realistic, 51% chance that maybe the Packers do get a home game because the Bears schedule the 49ers are still fighting, and at that point, I mean the Lions might be eliminated, but they're still going to fight, and the Packers got cupcakes. Well, maybe not cupcakes in the Ravens, but one cupcake and one should be win game.
Yeah.
Very reasonable.
Although the Vikings always love to. There's nothing more than the Vikings trying to close their season with a win over the Packers. I mean,
right. This would be Justin Jefferson matching his touchdown total for the entire year in this game, getting 2 touchdowns in this game. Yeah, yeah. But looking ahead to the Ravens, assuming they have a quarterback, and I guess defensively is where I'm going to start. Is game plan wise. If they, and assuming Lamar Jackson plays, I know he got kneed in the back last night, the same game plan. You keep him in the pocket. You don't let him run around. Edges can't get too far upfield. Keep everything in front of you. It seems to be working.
Yeah, I think that the Packers this year have done a much better job in contain. I think Micah helped with that. I think even the end of last season, you saw them being better at contain. I think the problem with that, though, is you set Micah on, you set Rashawn on the edge to set the edge and set the contain side, which doesn't allow him to really rush the passer. Although, is he good at rushing a runner? I don't know. So maybe that's what Hafley's thinking about is like get Edgerrin Cooper and get Enigbare more chances to run at the quarterback to hunt him down. I think they did a good job on Caleb. I think they did a good job on Caleb Williams overall in Saturday night as far as like the defensive line. It's just I don't think they got the pressures they needed to get. When they did get early pressure, he caved. Like it happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, he threw the ball away immediately. Yeah.
Yep, he did not even play with the pressure from the Green Bay Packers defense. But Lamar he's a little different animal though.
Yeah.
If he's playing, nobody know. Oh, I did my classic dropping the carry the G cans. Sorry.
Cool. But yeah, no, it assuming they have a quarterback, very winnable game. The weather's going to be nice, which is another
the weather's
deal.
nice all this week. It was cold this weekend, and then now it's supposed to be really nice. So
yeah, I'm only 2 hours south of you. I'm basically getting the same weather. Me and my dad we're coming up Saturday night, and we're gonna be be real tuned up by the time we get in there. I think we're gonna take your peanut butter chocolate shot advice,
nice.
And we're gonna get down on some of that and go scream our balls off like crazy.
Nice.
But I do think you're right. LaFleur is gonna have to coach his nuts off again, and I feel like when Love is playing, he's more willing to let Love make decisions and change things. Where when that changes, the 2 games last season with Malik, that was my best example of how good of a coach he is. And doing it on the fly this last game, where he coaches 20, and I thought he did it. I didn't think it could have been any better than the way he did it. He was getting guys open in the pass game, allowing Malik to use his legs. And I guess we're going to see what's going to happen this game again. And going forward, hopefully this concussion, because Love was hit pretty hard in the head. Hopefully this concussion doesn't linger past, this week. But I do think they're set up pretty okay. And even if they have to go on the road, I know wild card round, they'd probably have to go to Chicago, which is still pretty crappy conditions. But then they'd probably go to Los Angeles with a passing game, which might even be better than being in Lambeau.
Yeah, I mean, the good news about if we do have to play Chicago, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in the NFL. It's very, very rare for that to happen. So I think that bodes well for us, that Chicago, if we do have to play them, I hope we don't have to play them again, though. I really would rather have somebody else take them out.
See, I'm kind of on the opposite end as that. I think they have dominated dominated them in both games, with the exception of the last few minutes. And now, if they just score when they get inside the 20, 0 for 5 in the 20, 0 for 3 inside the 10, just score a couple times, the game's not even close. It's 20-something to 3 at halftime.
Well, yeah. Well, I said this after the Denver game. I was not as depressed. I was not depressed at all because I was like, we still got Jordan Love. But once they took Love out of the game, I love Malik Willis. You're not going to hear any slander on my part about Malik Willis. I think he's an incredible backup. Might be the best backup in the NFL, to be honest with you. But when we have Jordan Love, we can score at will for the most part
Yeah, I
against
agree.
any team. And so it really, most of my annoyance this week is going to hinge on, is he playing?
Right. Right. If he isn't and Malik can't throw, boy, we're
Yeah.
kind of in a bind.
I don't even know they have a plan for that. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure they have a plan. I'm sure they've discussed it now.
Hmm. Right. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. And I guess without numbers to back it up, and I'm going to preface this with in no way do I believe Malik should start over Jordan Love, but short yardage, they sure are much tougher to defend than with Jordan Love. I feel like third and ones, fourth and twos. Again, I don't have numbers to back me up, but I know it's not the greatest. That they really struggle when it comes to those. Where if you maybe put a Malik package in, maybe those numbers come up a little bit on fourth and short goal to go situations.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, there was the 3rd and 1 that we didn't get with Malik in, and 3rd and 1 is like our kryptonite. As soon as I see
Serious.
3rd and 1, I'm just like, oh dear, here we
I
go. We're
I
gonna just gun it for Jesus for no
I
reason.
was I was talking to a friend of mine and I said if it's third and one, false start. Just false start. Let's go back. Let's get back to 3rd and 6 and just let Jordan survey the field and throw the ball.
I mean, what's interesting about 3rd and 1 is that I think that we get a little bit too cute, but also I think we think that we can 3-step drop, and we can't. Like, it's a coin toss whether we can 3-step drop. Used to be the Green Bay Packers offense was a coin flip whether we could 5-step drop.
Yeah.
But now it's a coin flip whether we can 3-step drop because Jordan Morgan just gets immediately like thrown on his ass, that was one play, but still like. So I think that's the dilemma, right? And it's like if you just run the ball if you run the ball on inside zone right through the middle every time, they're going to figure that out. Although I would love it if we tried to do that because
Right.
that we definitely don't try to do that on third.
Right. I mean, even they did, and the Eagles were calling their plays, before they were happening. Um, but let's look ahead a little bit to the overall playoff situation here. Um, I'm a big believer of just get there and anything can happen. I don't care about regular season record. I've been looking at what they've been doing to teams, not necessarily scores, but as I said before, how they're dominating these teams early and just not scoring, where that can just change, at the snap of a finger in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, the Dallas game happens from a couple years ago, and you have a team put away by halftime. I guess just elaborating, like if they were, I think the Bears would be an automatic if they went there. I really do. I think they have the Bears number. I think they can do whatever they want against them. I think they were averaging over 5 yards a carry on Saturday, which good, hand it off every single time. I guess my struggle would be the Rams, where they can score with the Packers, and and their receiving core, obviously. That would be my struggle. So I guess where would you see an advantage if it did get to that point where we're going to LA?
I don't know. I'm the worst person to ask about this only because, like, I see teams as fraudulent as they have been for their entire, like, Sean McVay hasn't really turned around the Rams to me because I'm, like, thinking about the Rams old school, but I know that, I don't know. We can beat anyone, and that's the reality. I think that's what's so frustrating for people about this team is that they can see that we can beat anyone. It's very rare. I'm not saying the national pundits are smart. They're not. They're dumb. But the fact that national pundits have actually been like, the fact that like even people like Cowherd or like the Green Bay Packers are, on paper we are like the most talented team where we are what we have going for us. If we could just, I mean, honestly, like if we could just have solidified right tackle in the last since the beginning of the season, we probably wouldn't have any losses. And that's
Right.
just the reality, right? If we just even with the injuries we've had, even with Micah going out, like it's just where we're at. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I feel like the Packers. I feel like Matt LaFleur has actually not asked Jordan Love to air it out for an entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mike Sherman and Mike McCarthy used to ask of Aaron Rodgers. I don't
Right.
think we've seen that game yet
Mm-hmm.
because we can't fucking protect this 3-step drop.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's kind of hard when you can't even 3-step drop against people, right?
Yeah.
And but I'm excited for that. I mean, I think if we played the Rams, we would have to be a more passing offense that you probably haven't seen before. I think that would probably be the, of course we'd start with our own, but as soon as they start scoring, we got to keep up with the Joneses. So I think that would be interesting to see. It's hard because the Rams really, it's hard. It's hard to compare the Rams to us since we haven't played them. It's really hard.
Mm-hmm. True. Very true. I don't know. That might be it. I think we've reached the end. I know.
Do you have a last question or no?
Kind of, but it's kind of backtracking, and it doesn't really make any sense. So I think we've reached the end. I know you got to get going to do your show. I say thanks for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Go Packers. Stay tuned into Corey Behnke, Cheesehead TV. I'm always going to promote them guys. They're great. They know their stuff. Entertaining. Thanks for watching.